Today's sponsor is Loot Crate. For less than $20 a month, Loot Crate gives the geek in you a special treat every month. Loot Crate's a subscription box service with $40 worth of geek, gamer, and pop culture gear, collectibles, apparel, comics, and more delivered to your mailbox every month. This month, they're bringing you a fight for the ages. Suit up, choose your allies, and enter the arena for combat. They're ready to stand their ground this month with exclusive items from Blizzard, Fallout 4, Capcom, sponsor-worthy loot from the Hunger Games, as well as a few more items that will help their winners emerge victorious. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cutoff happens, that's it. It's over. So go to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today. So, second topic, predictions for the rest of the year. You know, we got 2 months left. So I kind of want to look forward at all the things that are going to happen.
Sure.
And how we think they're going to happen.
Uncharted 4 not coming out this year.
Okay, cool.
Take it to the bank.
Okay, good.
They're not going to do that. Now they're not going to do a surprise release on you.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout 4 is going to blow everyone away.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the thing. Do you guys really think that Fallout 4 is going to, you know, kind of reach expectations?
I think it's going to exceed expectations. I think that if you look at the way Witcher 3 did, which destroyed, and it's like the fucking nerdiest game possible. I mean, we talked about that on Colin and Greg Live a couple of times where CD Projekt Red over in Eastern Europe was like, we can't believe like how many games
well
it sold,
done,
and we can't believe like the people that played it. They're like, this core people obviously played it, but casual people who are not apparently that casual anymore have played the game. So Fallout 4 is going to fucking murder. I would not be surprised, and I know this is a bold prediction, but stick with me. Country for country, so not cumulatively, I wouldn't be surprised if Fallout 4 was the best-selling game of the year. So what I'm saying by that is that Call of Duty sells 8 million copies in the United States, right? 10 million copies in the United States. I bet you Fallout 4 sells just as many in the United States, you know, or whatever it is, 5 million, 6 million, whatever it's going to be. Especially because the last-gen Call of Duty games are campaign-less, so they're kind of shutting that down.
Starting to fall off.
There's a very limited number of consoles out there that can play compared to the last-gen Call of Duty games, so it's going to maybe limit the numbers more. And that might benefit in some sort of universe Fallout 4. I don't know if it's likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if Fallout 4 just comes out and just fucking clobbers everything around it.
I guarantee.
Do you think that's a bold kind of thing to say that it might outsell Call of Duty?
Yeah, but it's not crazy. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
It is unlikely, but not crazy.
What we're talking about with it is, I think this, and stick with me, it's a similar argument to how you always try to convince people how well Persona 5 is going to do, is that the groundwork has been laid here. Fallout 3 came out, right? And people were excited for it. We were all excited for it. We jumped in, but it was a lot of people's first Fallout, similar to how Persona 3 or Persona 4 were people's first personas, right? And then you've had how many years now? What was that?
2008?
8 years? No, so 7 years now of people talking about how awesome this game was. And how many people do we have hit us up every day saying, I'm going to get Fallout 4. Should I go back and play Fallout 3? They didn't even play those. Now they just know. It's one of those things where it's fever pitch, and Bethesda recognized that. I'm sure they've seen it in their sales, in the, you know, Pit Boys, in the tattoos of the Vault Bolt. You know what I mean? Like, people have been excited for Fallout as a franchise now for 7 years, and they're starving for it. So they get to come out and do, hey, at E3, yes, it's true. Yes, it's real. And it's coming out in this abbreviated cycle you weren't expecting, except Colin. And then, you know, we're not going to show you much of the game, and what we do show you is a vertical slice where, guess what? It looks awesome. And that's the whole thing of like Fallout 4. For Fallout 4 to be a success, it needs to be a prettier Fallout 3. Done. That's it. That's all they need to do. Put in just as many jokes and references and American pop culture and cool characters and memorable moments and stuff. If you do all that and make it look a little bit better, everyone's going to be thrilled. And that's why, yes, it's going to exceed expectations, unless it's broken as fuck. Yeah. If it comes out and there's a giant game-breaking bug and da-da-da-da, and I
don't think it will be.
I don't either, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think, you know, so I want to almost reestablish like what I'm saying, because I don't know that Fallout 4, because it's not on as many consoles as Call of Duty, could pound for pound beat it. But I wonder if console per console it's going to be able to beat it. In other words, PS4 to PS4, Xbox One, PC to PC, especially PC. Because the modding community,
PC,
you know, so the reason I'm saying this, the reason I'm being so bullish about Fallout is just based on the numbers we're seeing for these other random fucking games. Like Dying Light sold millions of copies. You know, Witcher 3 sold millions and millions of copies.
Yep.
So so these are like these open world, vast, nonlinear games are like what people are hungry for. combine that with the fact that they smartly, I did predict it, and I'm so happy it was true, that Fallout would be announced at E3 and come out by the end of the year. This abbreviated schedule that keeps pounding you in the fucking face, because it's not like they announced it 18 months ago and they're like, all right, that's it. And then a year later they're like, okay, let's talk about it. And everyone's like, I forgot this was even really happening. This has been on everyone's radar since the moment it happened, because it was already on the horizon. Like, you saw a little Pip-Boy kind of riding on the hill, and he was coming, getting already real close to you. So I think that this game is just going to slaughter. So, I mean, one of my major predictions is that Fallout 4 is going to fucking kill. Like, it's like, I don't know what the numbers are going to be. All I know is that the big franchises like Call of Duty are going to have fucking crazy competition this year from the likes of Battlefront and Halo, and that you're going to see plateauing numbers that I think this year are actually going to start to fall. I would not be surprised if year over year this is the Call of Duty actually sells less than Call of Duty did last year. If that's true, Battlefront kills, Halo kills. There's only so much time in the day. Fallout's a different kind of game. I can see Fallout 4 being the champion.
And the thing about it, like, you know what I mean? The fact that what we've seen was so brief is that, like, you know, today on Colin Moriarty Live, it was Colin Moriarty Live, somebody asked us, right, like, are we excited to, how much time do you think you're going to put into building out your settlements and stuff? And it was literally one of those things like, who the fuck knows? We've seen it for 2 seconds. I have no idea what that feels like. There's so much beyond the start screen in that game that I don't know what I'm getting into, and that's what's so exciting about it. That's why I think it'll be easily over your expectations.
And unlike Call of Duty or even Halo or even Battlefront, Fallout 4 is going to sell for years. So it's another one of those, like, the burn on Fallout 3 must be so extraordinary. Like, they must just look at their ledger every month and be like, I can't believe this game still is selling like this. Like, they must literally sell like 50, 100,000 copies of that game still a month. Yeah, you have to assume you have to just assume that that's just an assumption, but you have to assume that that's just one of those games that just won't go away. It's like Oblivion or Skyrim.
Yeah.
These games sold extremely well, and I think people underestimate the hunger for these kinds of games. So that's one of my major predictions, is that everyone's like, I've been talking about like Tomb Raider and Fallout, how Fallout's going to cannibalize Tomb Raider, and everyone's like, different audiences, and even Aaron Greenberg said that, and I agree to that to a sense, but Tomb Raider's the least of your fucking worries. It's obviously going to destroy Tomb Raider. The question is, what is it going to do to the major players around it?
Yeah.
And how will those major players affect Call of Duty? In a situation where I think people are increasingly now suffering from Call of Duty fatigue. I think that you're going to start to see it, and it's not earned on a game by game basis, because I think the games are great. It is earned on a just like shoving it down your throat basis. The other game we're going to see ride or die is Assassin's Creed, which is already out, and I'm really interested to see how that game does, because I just don't feel like anyone cared about that game.
Well, critically, it's interesting to see how Assassin's Creed and Halo are doing, and they're both getting really good reviews. Do you think that Call of Duty is going to kind of stay on trend and get
I'm sure Call of Duty is going to get great scores, because it's a great game. I'm sure it's going to be a great game. I have no doubt about that. But a lot of great games come out, and when you look at your shelf and you're like, Jesus Christ, I have 8 Call of Duty games on my shelf from 8 years, and I don't have time. Oh, and Battlefront's coming out. I'm real excited about Star Wars. And a new Halo game is out, and I can get my shooter fix there. And then you just see this one beacon that's totally different than everything around it, and that works to its benefit, man.
Yep.
Absolutely, like 100%. They could have released that game the same day as Call of Duty, and it would have done just as well, I think, because that really is a different game.
I think you're going to see that, everything we just talked about. I think you'll see Tomb Raider totally struggle, not turn big numbers. And I think the same thing for Just Cause 3. I think the fact that it's coming out after Black Friday hurts it as usual. I think it's going to be an awesome game. You guys have done Let's Plays with it. I've watched a lot of footage and stuff. Fun. It's cool and it's fun, but I remember that being that's what we talked about for Just Cause 2 as well. And Just Cause 2 came out at an awkward time as well, where it just didn't get, it has its following, but it didn't get big. This is another game that's not going to get big. Not that it'll be bad by any means. I'm totally stoked for it.
I disagree with you in the sense that I don't think Just Cause 3 is going to be like this sales darling or anything like that. I do think, and I was talking to the guys about, to the guy when we went to do the Let's Play, I was like, I think that the conventional wisdom of not releasing games in December is wrong. And that if you can get your game out early in December, you're probably okay. Black Friday is one thing, but people aren't looking for new video game software that just came out on Black Friday, in my opinion. I mean, like, what are you going to save? Like $2 on it? Like, there's an MSRP on the game. They have to charge a certain amount of game.
That's what parents are looking for.
Sure, but what they're looking for those days is like hardware. Can I get $30 off the hardware if I do this, that, or the other thing? Like, the game's going to cost $60. No one's going to walk into a store unless the companies want to eat it, because games have to be sold at a certain price. I mean, that's there are like rules about those kinds of things.
But there's Black Friday deals on games all the time.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that if Just Cause had come out a week before Black Friday, they're really going to cut $20 off of a brand new game. Like, this seems like it lets it exist on its own, and everything's already out. And then by December, Fallout comes out November 10th, a lot of people might be straight up done with that game by December 1st, and
Sure.
and maybe even before that.
But that's when I think you start working your way backwards on what you've missed, your Tomb Raiders, your Battlefronts, what's happening here. I mean, like what you're talking about, keep in mind too, I'm talking critically and for game of the year. Like we saw this with Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 came out in December. Mitch banged the drum. This game is awesome. You guys need to talk about it. We need to do it. Da 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 da. And like, yeah, we'll get to it. I have a million other things to get to it. And by the time we got to it, Game of the Year had already been voted for. And you're like, fuck, this was a great game.
And he was right. Yep.
And it deserved at least a nomination. I'm pretty sure I got snubbed on nomination front.
Yeah.
Because we had weeks with these other games that were like, these are fucking great. And I'm not saying those games sucked in comparison to Far Cry, but it's like Far Cry got the short end of the stick there. And that's where I think it's this giant thing of like, where do you think this game's going to go?
Yeah, but that isn't the problem of the consumer, right? Like they don't. No one cares about if it gets a Game of the Year nomination or not, or like that's the problem of the publisher and maybe the outlets. The fact is, it's the same conventional wisdom that was bucked with Dying Light. Like no one thinks that a game should be released in January, even early February, although February is becoming more in vogue. But like releasing a game in the middle of January is like suicidal. Yet it wasn't, and. So I think that, you know, it's like the original Jack and Daxter came out like 2 weeks before Christmas, and it was and people loved it. So it's not like there's no precedent for it. I do think that people have to spread the calendar out a little bit more. I understand that there's a sales imperative on getting like the game to market and getting parents to buy it and giving them time to shop and all that kind of stuff. But
I do think things are changing too with like the Black Friday stuff, because Black Friday isn't as big of an event as it used to be now that the internet exists.
Sure.
And now that Amazon's a thing, and now that Best Buy online has better deals than Black Friday deals. And parents are used to buying online now. You know, parents are used to buying their Christmas presents, having them shipped to them, and that's it. So I do think that it's more different this year than it's ever been. And I think that it's just going to continue to get more and more different than that. So I agree, though, that it's like it's a weird time period to put out a game. But I think that because it's alone, it at least has a chance.
Yeah, it'll be the biggest game in December, and that's a weird thing to say, but I really just don't believe that people go and wait online for 8 hours to get into Walmart to buy a $60 game for $50. That's not what people are like. That might be a supplemental purchase, but they want a TV, they want a fucking PS4, they want an Xbox One.
I don't
they
think
want a computer
the Black
or a
Friday
laptop.
thing's about the deals, though, because I think that Black Friday is just when people are there shopping as well.
Hey,
Like, there
I
are
need
the
your
people-
Christmas list. I'm going shopping tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's what
and
I'm
so it's
talking
like
about.
the people that are waiting in line are a totally different crowd than the people that are going at 4 p.m. on Thursday.
Who the fuck leaves at their house on Black Friday, man?
So many fucking
Oh, it's
people.
unbelievable.
Everyone
I
in the
haven't-
middle of the country.
I haven't gone out on a Black Friday since 1998. Why did I go out on Black Friday in 1998? To get that DualShock controller for my PS1. Why did I do that? I want to play Metal Gear. And you know what? It all worked out fine. I also got a little green vest that day that I wore. I really liked.
Like just a vest to wear alone, or was it like
It was like
a
it
Metal
was
Gear thing,
it was like a fleece vest.
Oh, okay, like North Face kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Okay, I'm caught.
I remember that day really well for some reason. But I remember going into the mall and being like, why am I here? And I was in 9th grade. I was like, why am I here? What the fuck is going on here? And I was like, I need this controller. Just get the hell out of here. But then I was with my sisters and her friends, and I was like, oh.
Did you see the REI stores thing?
That they refuse to open on.
They're closed. They're closing.
Oh.
They're not opening any store on Black Friday. They're paying all their employees for the day, and they're just saying go outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Friday is like I got to be honest with you, Black Friday is fucking embarrassing. But we
it's
should actually
changing, man.
we should save that for Game Over, Greg. And that's as much as I am into market capitalism and consumerism. That is fucking nuts. Like people running amok, fighting each other. That's the best part about Drudge Report on fucking Friday night. Every Black Friday is that they just have a compilation of all the videos.
Fucking killed or
Like
shoved into a door.
it's like holy shit! Like is it really worth your humanity
For,
to
like,
save
saving $100,
$200
like-
on TV?
That's the whole problem is when it escalates. Because when it's just let's line up and get a great deal. Well, I've lined up for consoles. That's fun. But yeah, it's when they all run and people are getting thrown into poles and hurt. And then like, what the fuck? Yeah.
It's like, do you know the internet exists?
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing is like I haven't been Black Friday shopping in years. Actually, I don't know if I ever.
All right, save it.
Yeah.
We are getting. Now we're just talking about Black Friday. That's our great Game Over, Greggy show.
Yeah,
Kevin,
okay.
put it in the ledger.
Going back to the predictions and stuff, though, going to Nintendo, I want to talk about something that is interesting to discuss right now because tomorrow they're going to announce the mobile game. I want to predict that. By the time you guys hear this, our predictions will be correct or wrong. So, Colin, what do you think it's going to be?
Mario.
You think it's Mario? Do you think we're going to get a release date?
Yes.
And do you think it'll be this year?
Yes. I think that they said it would be this year, not in the most recent announcement, but I thought the assumption was that they would try to get their first game out by the end of the year. I don't know if they're going to still stick to that, but I believe that's
what they said when they first talked
Right.
about the DNA stuff.
So I think that it's a Mario game. You have to assume. I don't know, man. Like I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a side scroller. I wouldn't be shocked if like they're really trying to figure out to like the first game that comes out of DNA with this Nintendo DNA deal must be something that shifts the paradigm, right? It must be something that's not predictable. It can't be an Mario. If it's a Mario Endless Run or something, just enough. It's the two things that I think about that would be fucking absurd for them to do in a good way is A, to either have a competent Mario side-scrolling game that you can really play, and it works, even though a lot of people aren't going to want to play it, core gamers, because it's not tactile and it doesn't have controls, something like that. The bigger thing would be if it was a Pokemon game.
Now, the thing with Pokemon is...
They already got the other Pokemon.
Well, they're working on Pokemon Go. But in addition to that, recently, like this week, we saw that Game Freak acquired some mobile developer or whatever to like work on stuff. So I think it's a little early to get a Pokemon announcement.
That's so obvious, right? Like,
although, my God.
Just because the core Pokemon JRPG style, the way the game's played and the way you interface with the game would work fine on phone. It would work totally fine on phone.
You don't need it to be on DS
exactly. There's
Game
no
Boy.
reason that you have to have a D-pad or buttons to play that game as it stands right now. And that's so obvious. And the fact that they didn't do that years ago. I understand that they don't want to cannibalize, obviously, the sales of their hardware. But 3DS is dying, as we saw today. And with their financials, they released their financials, 1.5 million Wii U sold in 6 months, something like 2.5 or 3 million 3DSs. So it's definitely time to shove that away. And I think the NX will solve that problem. We're gonna have something very vibrant and unique with them on that front. But Pokemon, a real Pokemon game, not a bullshit Pokemon game, real Pokemon game on iOS and Android would sell millions and millions and millions and millions of units, and you could charge $30 with it, and it will still sell millions and millions and millions of units. So that, I think, is the ultimate goal. If they come out, though, Tim, and they have this like very generic fucking microtransaction laden nonsense that is just a reskin of something they've already done, it's the beginning of the end of that initiative being relevant to core gamers. They have to come out immediately and get the core gamer, the Nintendo fan.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that'll happen? Because I don't. I don't think
I think it's entirely possible.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So here's the thing. It's not likely based on what DNA does. It is likely based on what Nintendo does. And for them to get together, I just don't imagine that Iwata and those guys, when Iwata, rest in peace, Iwata, because I mean, he's deceased now, but he did, make this deal. And I just find it hard to believe that a man from a software background that made great games like Kirby, that has hardcore sensibilities, that really brought hardcore gaming sensibilities and maintained them for Nintendo for so long, would then go to a mobile game company and sell out to them instead of them selling out to Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Like, DNA, in my mind, DNA has no power in this relationship, and Nintendo has all the power. If we see something different, then that suggests that the power dynamic between these two companies is different than that. And is the imperative on them to make something free and something accessible to everyone and something that's microtransaction laden and just soaking the land with it, or is their goal to prove that Nintendo can be really viable on this platform with Nintendo games? Is it going to be a Nintendo game?
I don't think those things are mutually exclusive, though. I mean, I think in the sense of like winning over the core gamers and stuff, it is. But I think that a microtransaction thing where it is free to everybody, and like if the microtransactions make sense, I don't think that that's a wrong answer. People get upset about mobile gaming being that way, but if done right for something like Pokemon, I don't think that that's the wrong answer. Would I prefer paying $30 and getting just a game that I don't need to deal with any of the bullshit? Definitely. But I would be shocked if that would happen. Like, I don't think that that's even a possibility. Like, there's almost no reason to do that when they could be making so much more money just simply having the option for the microtransactions and shit.
Well, could they? I mean, the question is, say you have a $1 game and it's a Endless Runner Mario game.
Yeah.
And you sell 20 million. So you make $20 million, right? I mean, that's gross. Obviously, it's not net. Or you make a Pokemon game and you charge $20 for it and you sell 1 million copies of it. It's the same difference. So it really is monetarily. So it really is a matter of like what the intent is. And I don't know. I don't know what the intent is. Is the intent to stay relevant? Is the intent to really pierce the Japanese market, which is very mobile centric in core gaming, much more so than the West? I don't know what their intent is. We'll find out what their intent is when this game's announced. And obviously this is going to be such an old conversation by the time people hear it. But I don't want Nintendo to sell out like that. That's not.
They won't. That's not what they're going to do.
That's so crazy that you really just straight up think they won't.
I mean, it's going to be a Nintendo game. It's going to be a Mario game, period. Like, it has to be. Like, that's your first mobile game's got to be Mario. I think it'll borrow ideas from what DNA does, but it's got to be Nintendo through and through, right? And that's what they've talked about. If not, it's totally fucked. But like, to what your point is, I mean, like, to bring it to cell phones and get this Japanese audience that has great memories of Nintendo but doesn't care too much about the handheld over their phones. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
I'm
It's very interesting.
Very excited about this.
I'm super interested.
The other thing is, so they announced that there's going to be a direct before the end of the year, the first direct that since Iwata. And what do you think will be announced for that? Do you think that they'll just be talking about 2016 stuff, or do you think we'll be getting in 2015?
I think that it'll be kind of confirming that Zelda's still on Wii U. That although they've really insinuated that it is. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that it's still going to be a Wii U game. Maybe it'll be both, but
it's going to be one.
The Zelda games coming. Maybe they date it. Star Fox maybe dated, maybe a few 3DS games in there.
Star Fox for sure dated.
And no mention of NX. You will not hear about that console until E3. Mm-hmm. I really believe that. I think this is them saying like, we're here. Iwata has passed. We're still going to do this. Here are some new cast of characters that you need to know. Here are the games that are coming out for Wii U. We appreciate that even though the console is struggling mightily, it's not even past 11 million units, which is like abysmal for how long it's been on the market. Everything's fine. These games are in operation and they work and it's good. Everything's gonna be great. See you in E3.
I think we'll get a Smash Bros. Update, some form of DLC. I think.
Oh, interesting.
With new characters. If I had to put bets down, I'd say the Splatoon Inkling.
That's a good point.
I think they'll put that out and try to like push, because I think it'd be dumb for them to not use Smash as a way to promote their other games. Like they did that for so long leading into it coming out, where it's like whenever Sonic Lost Worlds announced, and so it's like, oh, Sonic's in Smash, and like they kept kind of doing that, and it's like now that Smash exists, they can just keep doing that. So why not push Splatoon again for the holiday season and all that stuff? I like that we're getting a Mario Maker update in a couple days. I don't think we'll get more by the end of the year, but it could be cool.
It's almost 2 million sold now.
It's awesome. The bigger question for me though is looking forward to when you're talking about Zelda. Like, I hope that you're wrong and that they don't mention Zelda at all, and then eventually they're just like, it is just an X.
They can't. I want that too. I really do, and I think that maybe it's disappeared off the face of the planet because they are porting it.
Yep.
But they can't do that to the Wii U audience. If I was a Wii U owner, I'd be fucking furious.
See,
if they
I'm
did
a
that.
Wii U owner,
and there's only 11 million of you.
But I'm just like, please, just say fuck you to me. Like, just do this right. Launch with that shit. Like, this is we need a win to be able to move forward. You know what I mean? We need to make it so that when we have these conversations, Nintendo's not a fucking joke. So it's like, launch with a goddamn Zelda game. Don't make it a port. Just launch. That's it. You want that Zelda game? You need to get that shit. You know?
You're not going to be happy with when it's cross-platform?
No. I mean, and that's the thing is, it's just like, I know that I'm saying this and this is probably not a popular opinion, but it's like, we've got great games on the Wii U. Like, people would argue of how many we got. Like, I think that there's more than enough to make the Wii U worth buying.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's leave there. Yeah, we were promised this Zelda game, but it's like, I don't know. At this point, I'd rather Nintendo succeed. I'd rather them start doing things right to everybody.
My thing with it, even if they like leave it on the Wii U so they don't piss off people, put it on the NX so they have a reason to buy the NX. So I have a reason to buy the NX. I have a Wii U, but I'm still going to buy an NX at launch if it's awesome and has cool games.
Yeah, the NX. I'm in on the NX if it's cool.
Regardless of whether it comes on Wii U or not, it's still going to be a port from the Wii U. It's not like they stopped and went back and started all fresh with the Zelda game, right? The Zelda game started on the Wii U, and I'm sure they were like, oh, fuck, this is screwed. Let's put it on the next one. And then they are right back to where they were with Twilight Princess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what the NX is, so it's like kind
we
of
do. It's this, and it's a hybrid system.
And we know it's going to give it to you.
It's going to give it to you in a handheld and console fashion.
Yeah, I hear the one conundrum, because everyone assumes that this might be like a Twilight Princess situation, is that I don't think Zelda is going to come out in the fall. I think Zelda is going to be done way sooner than that. So the only question is, assuming it's a Wii U game still, that the game's April, May, like I like maybe the summer, like at the very, like
really,
yeah. And I think that, remember that this game was already delayed. Like, this game was supposed to be out by now. So the delay either is because you have to assume sending it to NX. But then if the NX comes out in, say, the fall 2016, and I don't really believe that console is coming out next year, but if it does, that would be great. I'll be very excited about that. I'd love to see Nintendo get back in the game. Then do they hold Zelda? If Zelda's done for Wii U, do they release it on Wii U in like May, and then they release a port at launch for NX? Do they do the GameCube thing where they release it at the same time, even though one probably is already done? Like, there's a lot of weird questions that I don't know. They have a conundrum with this game. Because I agree that it's an important game, but here's the thing about this. Twilight Princess did really well. Really well. Skyward Sword sold moderately well, but I think people overestimate how well Zelda does. And like as far as I remember, we saw about I think Uncharted 3 outsold Skyward Sword, which is incredible because you always assume Zelda would push
pillar of the
10, 50
industry.
million, but it doesn't sell that like that. It's like a more extreme version of what we say with Metroid, where Metroid just doesn't sell that well. We want a Metroid game, but it's like not a system seller. I do think, by the way, Metroid will be a launch game for NX. That I do 100% believe.
That's cool.
Now, and I think it's a retro game and all that. But with this particular game, they have a conundrum because it's like, okay, Zelda's a compelling game for launch for people that will already buy the system. So they have to play a little. There's a calculus here. There's risk taking that has to be involved here. You don't want to fuck Wii U, the Wii U audience. Those are the only reliable people that will buy the new console. Yeah. Maybe. You know, the Nintendo core audience has shrunk to such a degree that they cannot take anything for granted anymore. So it's a delicate dance, man. I would not be surprised if there's a major backlash on them if this game's not on Wii U. And I would personally be pretty pissed if I bought a Wii U and this game was promised to me and I saw this game multiple times and it was talked about multiple times and they just move it off the system. I just think that's disingenuous and I don't think that Nintendo's going to do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the counter argument would be that's how you feel, right? And I think that the Nintendo fan now that's still there and is still hardcore and is still buying amiibos hand over fist because they love Nintendo. I don't know if they'd be that upset. I have the Wii U out there. I wouldn't care.
Whatever, not only would I not be upset, I want that, but I don't think it's going to happen because you're right. There will be people that are upset, and
of course,
the worst part is the people that wouldn't buy it either way are going to be the most upset, and they're going to be super loud about it.
You'll never know. You'll never know. I mean, it's the same. You're right. I mean, amiibos sell so well. I don't even own a Wii U. I use your Wii U, but I have amiibo because I like those characters. Or whatever. So it's hard to gauge like what is the temperature of the Nintendo fan base right now? Like what is a Nintendo fan? What does that even mean right now? Wii U owners, there's not many of them. You know, they're like the Vita owners of Nintendo. Like the Vita owners are like the most hardcore, really, the PlayStation audience, like the core of the core of the core of the PlayStation audience. I look at the Wii U audience is that why I look at the 3DS, which is sold about 5 times better than Wii U, as like the more proliferated piece of hardware. And I just don't think you want to like PlayStation knows that the Vita audience butters their bread in a major way, not on Vita, but just generally in that ecosystem. And I think Nintendo might look at Wii U owners and being like, we know there's not many of you, but you're the ones. You're the ones that have the attach rate of Mario Kart is 1 for every 2 consoles.
Yeah.
That is unfucking heard of for a game that didn't come bundled in with every console. You know what I mean? So
and even like Animal Crossing, the like weird one selling super well.
Yeah, it sold 2 million units, so they're there. They're out there. You know, you just got to treat them. It's a very tenuous situation because Nintendo fans, I know because I was a Nintendo fan for a very long time, and I call myself, as I've joked around, a reformed Nintendo fan. But as Greg knows, because Greg and I became friends at this time, I lied to myself for years about the Wii. And I know and there's a significant amount of Stockholm syndrome in this audience right now, and they just need something that is authentically awesome. You know? Mm-hmm. So give them 2 things that are authentically awesome: that fucking Zelda game on Wii U and that console. You know? Mm-hmm. Give them 2 fucking awesome things. I want Nintendo fans to triumph in 2016. Me too. And I want to come back into the fold.
So bad. I want all of
I'll pretend like I was never gone. It'll piss everyone off.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. Cannot wait.
That'd be awesome.
Remember that Bayonetta 2, man? Hell yeah.
Oh, man. I've been down with this goddamn Wii Sports shit forever.
Okay, we're back. It's another day. You guys didn't know this was going to happen, but we're all changed. I have a haircut. Things have happened. Thank you. They went real deep.
I like that. Yeah. Balls deep.
I'm pretty happy about it. They usually don't go this deep.
Yeah.
Like, no, Tim, we're not going that deep. But what we're doing here is we're adding on to this topic because we're predicting things like the Nintendo announcement that yesterday we were going to say is going to happen tomorrow, but today it happened ironically yesterday because of how time zones work.
Right. But no, the conversation organically went to that point, and then it's like, well, let's not stop. But then it was like, well, let's stop and talk about what happened.
Yeah.
So the Mario game that we both thought would happen totally happened?
No.
Damn it!
My God. So did you see what happened, Colin?
I saw the name of it. Oh, I saw that they announced like a cloud save system, and then they announced like
what is the name of it?
I think it's called. It's probably the worst name. Oh, the game.
The game.
I don't know. You're the host. It's up to you to figure that out.
No, I need to figure this out. Hold on.
I think it's Nintendo Dojo.
No, it's definitely not that. It is
Brain Age.
Miitomo is the name of it. Miitomo. It looks like Tomodachi Life, but just on a phone.
Yeah.
And like more simplistic. And with V's and stuff, and yay.
There you go.
It's free. It's a communication thing. They want people to be able to communicate. using their phones.
Okay.
Oh no,
Novel
Yeah.
idea.
text messaging,
Are there puzzle pieces?
phone calls.
No. So, but that's the thing is like
Twitter.
yesterday when we were talking about or even in this topic, when we were talking about the predictions and stuff, I thought it was going to be something like this. I thought it was going to be free, just like 3DS Street Pass type stuff. Like, all right. And this is what it is. No fucking Mario, no Zelda, no Pokemon, nothing that I think anyone really cares about.
I really didn't believe that Nintendo would sell their soul to this line of games and this way of merch.
It seemed like they were getting it. We
so
talk
weird.
about
Did
NX
it?
and we talk about
Yeah.
them slowing down and we talk about
I don't
this.
think it did.
We talk about them finally taking their properties and put them on mobile devices.
I thought you guys were crazy for thinking that we were getting that.
Well, we like to believe in the good in people, not just the
I mean, I like
horribleness.
to hope for the good in people, but this is a perfect example of like where their head's at right now. Are they building towards something great? Yeah. Will there be awesome mobile games announced next year? Hopefully, maybe.
There's
but
no
not
reason to
right
believe
now.
that now.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, they did.
If this
say,
is what they're coming out of the gate with.
They said that in the next year. That well, first off, this got delayed.
Yeah, it's
So
not
it's
coming
not
out
this
year.
year.
Yeah.
So pretty much everything we said yesterday. It's just
Well, no. To that point, they did say the game was coming out this year.
No, I
And-
know.
And then they said it was delayed yesterday. So that's not an.
well, I know. But my question that I was asking yesterday is, do you think it'll happen this year?
Oh, I mean, I thought so because I didn't think that making little baby games on baby phones was going to be this big of a deal. But apparently, it is a big deal to make a baby game on a baby phone, and they need time to make their baby games on their baby phone. So, I just can't. I didn't think when Nintendo married itself in some way to DNA, I really didn't think that they would do that with the same old thing in mind. What I thought that they identified with DNA was this is a company that knows how to make money online. They might have a certain way of doing it. Maybe we have to make the games free and have microtransactions or whatever, just the way their games are. But certainly they're going to make a game that's up to Nintendo's standards. Surely they'll make a game that's up to Nintendo's standards if Nintendo's name's on it. But so this is a scary thing. This to me is Nintendo, that is usually a company about, and I'm not saying maybe this game, whatever the fuck it is going to be great, but Nintendo's always about quality. We always talk about how, well, at least their games are good. Well, can you say that now?
Yeah. Well, to be fair though, people did like Tomodachi Life a lot.
Yeah, people really did like.
So it's like this
Tamagotchi.
isn't for us, but this is obviously for an audience that's
Sure.
really, really big. So I don't know. It's upsetting to me because this is not what I want. But what is cool, the good thing that they talked about was the My Nintendo account thing. That's finally a unified account across Wii U, 3DS.
What's the name of it?
My Nintendo account.
Yeah, I think it's called Nintendo account or something like that. Like I think that's literally the name of it or something like that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean that's the other problem is
right.
they like the
Good.
way that
Very
they
good.
talked about it wasn't very clear. Because they talked about something called My Nintendo, and they also talked about something called New Nintendo account. So it's a little confusing as to whether or not those are the exact, like the same thing. I think they are. Like I think it's just talking about things, referring to as New Nintendo accounts, just saying that it's not Club Nintendo. It's now My Nintendo. But
can I change my Nintendo Network ID?
so it sounds like this kind of replaces that stuff.
Okay.
Like it sounds like this is an account that then goes across all of that stuff so that you can sign into the Play Online or whatever. And also it hopefully will be like some form of trophy achievement system across games where, and they said that you can earn points based on buying the game and then also based on doing things in the game
Pay to win.
that you could download digital stuff or get physical rewards just like Club Nintendo was. We'll see how it actually looks for North America because we usually got snubbed
It's
pretty
good
hard.
they learned that lesson about confusing names with the Wii and Wii U and My Nintendo and Nintendo Club and I don't know. The whole thing I was just reading about it in a very cursory way yesterday when I was settling in for the night and I was surprised. I was like I just can't believe Nintendo like this tells me that not that they've always had hardcore sensibilities because they haven't. I mean I don't think Animal Crossing is a hardcore game, for instance. This Tamagotchi game doesn't seem like it's hardcore at all. But they've had these like hardcore sensibilities that kept their gamers. I don't really feel like any Nintendo fans like, man, this is exactly what I wanted.
I mean, but that's not fair to say. You can't say any Nintendo fan because obviously the people that like those Nintendo games are thrilled about this.
Well, it's like we were talking about with the 11 million. It's not even 11. It's 10 and a half, 10.7 million people, whatever, that own a Wii U. Though that to me is like that's your core, like your core audience, and like is that really like the shit that they want? Yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for Nintendo fans, man. I really do.
The question is this this
Sucks.
them pivoting, trying to get the smartphone market rather than Nintendo fans? Are they trying to get the casual person who uses their phone? Hey, what's our most casual, approachable experience that people like that's super easy and weird to get into? Well, Tamagotchi life.
They do have, to that point, because the mobile market's a trash heap that's on fire all the time, and it's never been extinguished. It only gets worse. But there are a few companies that can like elbow their way in and actually have prominence and be seen just based on money and relationships. I mean, if Nintendo goes to Apple and is like, we want, prominent placement for this game, they're going to get it. And so they're to that point, they are one of the few companies that could enter that very crowded, very bullshit, very dog-eat-dog market and actually prevail and make a lot of money. DNA makes a lot of money doing it. So, that is a good point, but it's like that. I really feel like that dilutes your brand and stuff like that. It would have been so cool for them to take advantage of. Even though they sometimes fail, they do push tech forward in their own unique way with motion or with whatever. And it would have been cool for them to say like, listen, we really think this could be a viable platform that can play real games. And I just don't understand why they're leaving all of these obvious ideas on the table to do like rehashed ideas or social ideas, or whatever. It's like, just make games. This is what you do. Like everyone wants your games on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One because they respect the shit out of you as a publisher and a creator of games. And I know what it's like. If I was a Nintendo fan, I'd be real scared about this particular initiative now, because if this is the way they're coming out of the gate, then it doesn't show that they really give a shit about, and again, I'll say it, about a core Nintendo fan. That's not a core Nintendo game. And I don't care how well it's sold. That's not, it doesn't mean anything. It's other than like some money on your ledger, and that doesn't mean anything to fans of games, that people that play the games. So I don't know. It was weird. I really thought for sure that they were gonna really blow us away, because I've seen a Nintendo the last year or year and a half that really seems to understand what's going on and trying to fix it. And it's hard to turn a battleship. It takes time. You got to like start turning the wheel and be patient and wait for the ship to turn. And so I thought that that's the process we were in, and like some of these things were a little weird to me.
See, I look at this and I think that this is just, it's all getting ready for the future. And I think that this is them not coming out of the gate. This is them just being like, all right, we're going to be doing stuff. This is not the announcement we want to make, which why even say anything? I don't know. But this isn't the first Nintendo thing on the App Store, like on mobile phones. There's been like Pokemon stuff before, and none of them too substantial, but there was the Pokemon trading card game that straight up just came out of nowhere. And like that's Game Freak, so it's a little bit different.
That's kind of the point, though, right? Came out of nowhere. This was the thing that they announced. They deliberately talked about this partnership.
We have this many games. We're going to be going out. We're partnering with these guys. We're making mobile games.
Yeah, but I think
sound different.
I do think that they talked about coming out with it this year, and then it got delayed. So all of this, I think, is this how I would have done it? No. But I do think that I'm still looking forward to what the other games are. They are making other games, and
I'm now looking forward to every announcement. Every time they're like, we got a new announcement, I'm like, can't wait to see what this trash heap's
yeah.
Whatever. What's going to happen this time? How's the internet going to react?
I mean, well, the internet reaction to this is like hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Didn't react.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit. And
you walked in today before we sat down to do the show, and you're like, yeah, and we got, I don't know how we want to handle the update. I was like, oh, right. Has it not happened yet? And you're like, no, it happened. I'm like, oh, I've seen no one talk about this on the internet.
But the audience, the internet would have cared if it was something that was aimed at the people on the internet that care about Nintendo. That's the whole fucking point.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like if they really like actually announced something that anyone cared about, I mean, it's making the point. Like sure, people are gonna play it. Yeah, we want to be social and communicate with games. Or it was like, all right, well, you guys make games that are great. Can we have one of those maybe?
Yeah,
that'd be nice. I don't know. I feel for Nintendo fans, man, because I know what that's like to just hold on and
sure.
And like look around and be like, it's got to get better than this, right? It's got to get better than this. And I still have a lot of hope in the NX. But then again, I don't know. I want.
Will X really give it to us?
Well, now we're questioning.
Is X gonna give it to us?
It's just. I know these are like small announcements in the grand scheme of things, and it's easy to it's not. It's all conjecture, but you can read into some of this stuff and just be like, okay, this is disappointing. This is bringing the ship's turning. Like just let it turn and I wanted this announcement to be something really cool. I almost really believe that they were going to really do something paradigm shifting for themselves and for maybe that for the Nintendo audience and for people that own phones and stuff like that, and be like, we want to make hardcore games on this thing, And I thought that would have been cool. And I understand they don't want to cannibalize the 3DS, but guess what? The 3DS is dying too. So, the NX, whatever that is, can rectify that situation. I know they don't want to cannibalize their hardware, but it's the same thing we talk about with Xbox putting games on PC and Xbox 360, right? Or Xbox One. Where it's like, yeah, what's the economic reality of doing that and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just think it's a weird move, and maybe the second or third game will be like a hardcore game. But that you set a cadence, you set a rhythm with your first announcement, and
Yeah,
no, it's weird. I'm not saying that the game itself is going to be bad. I'm sure it's going to be a very quality game. It's not the formula that I was hoping that they would follow.
It's not the first step you wanted.
Yeah, I mean maybe people in Japan are really excited about it. I don't
That's
know.
a good point too. That it is probably trying to aim at them.
But DNA being a well-established Japanese company, but
I mean, it's definitely aimed towards them.
Yeah, but
if you look at it, it's the most Japanese thing ever.
But
like
I'm
gonna
give you a little insight though, right? The Nintendo salvation isn't in Japan, and no gaming company's salvation is in Japan. PS4, they just announced PS4 sold 29.3 million units, of which maybe 1.5 million of them were sold in Japan. So it's like, you gotta look outside of that country in order to satiate an audience, a much bigger audience of gamers that really want to engage with your stuff
and spend money.
And Sony realized that for the first time, really.
Yep. That's the reason PlayStation 4 is so successful is because they turned around and they looked at everybody and were like, we're doubling down on gamers. We don't, yeah, sure, it plays Netflix. Yeah, it does all that crap you care about. Let's talk about games. Let's talk about nuts and bolts. I'm talking about that February presentation. We understand it was hard to develop for the PlayStation 3. This one won't be that. This is going to be easy to port your games. This is how it's looking. We want to make games. We want to do games. We want to make games. And that's the message people have responded to when in reality, when you compare Xbox One and PS4 to each other, right? Like, is there one like leaps and bounds ahead of each other in terms of, you know what I mean? No, like you could go either way and have a great experience and be great, but PlayStation was very clear with their message and bet on gamers, and the gamers are there for them. Yeah. And that's what we always talk about with NX is what we want, right? Is that they come back out and like it's a hybrid machine and you can take your games on the road, you bring them back. It's games. Not Tamagotchi life.
Yeah, and it's just simpler than that. It's like, whether it was 1.5, 2 million, 3 million units, whatever PS4 sold in Japan, I don't think it's even that much at all. There's 100 million people there, and the lion's share of that Japanese company's Japanese machine is being sold in the West because they understood what needed to be done to proliferate the brand.
Yep.
And so it's aimed at the Japanese market, and that's great. And there are 100 million people with 100 million cell phones in Japan, and we've both been there and several times, and you see, I mean, it's very obvious that's the way people play games there, and you see 3DSs and
it's a very mobile.
Yeah. It is
gaming place. So,
it is.
So that's the difference when you're talking about PS4 and stuff. Where here, there's a lot more console stuff, but there it is handhelds.
Right. But even 3DS is doing very well in Japan. But those 52 or 53 million units are not a lion's share. Those are not in Japan either. So the point is that they do have a market outside of Japan that they should be looking at as well, very very closely, because Nintendo was a big deal with Famicom and with Game & Watch and all that kind of stuff in its own way in Japan, but it was, the proliferation of the NES and the SNES and all these things that made it obviously a global phenomenon. People in the West like these games and they like this brand and they have a kindred connection to it.
Yeah.
So I just hope, it's sad because it looks like we beat up on Nintendo a lot. Maybe we do, but there are a few companies I care about more too. Like where I want to see this company just fucking shove a boot on someone's ass. I really do. Like I really do want to see it. And I hope NX is now the thing that I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with it. And hopefully, if this caters to the casual crowd, hopefully this will cater to like the antithesis of that.
I hope
NX is very much like The Division, where I can't wait to see it disappoint Colin.
Yeah, I
mean, to see him crushed, and then the anger he will unleash on the internet.
If NX is disappointing, it's another Wii U and all that kind of stuff. Man, I am finished, just straight up finished. I will never even talk about that company again.
It's gonna be like until it's not. I don't believe it's going to be anything but disappointing to us.